Welcome to Rob Schmitt Tonight, another commercial-free power hour for you tonight. 1 hour non-stop news. And late this morning, House Speaker Kevin McCarthy finally dropped the hammer on Joe Biden. Initially, McCarthy seemed somewhat uncomfortable with the idea of another impeachment for the American people. The committee leaders, James Comer, Jim Jordan, and Jason Smith's relentless work, though, revealing a mountain of evidence. From testimony of Hunter's business partners to bank records, allegations of bribery to Biden from the head of Burisma, from an FBI informant, the existence of shell companies designed to conceal the transfer of money from Chinese communists to 9 members of the Biden family, text messages from Hunter himself saying he's with his father and demanding money from the Chinese. Millions arrived in his account about a week later. Text messages from Hunter to his daughter reminding her that Joe forces Hunter to give him half his income. IRS whistleblowers showing the DOJ was working to conceal Biden's corruption. The Department of Justice under Trump actively working to conceal his 2024 challenger's corruption. An immense pile of evidence for possibly the biggest political scandal that this country has ever seen. The sitting president was selling his power to our adversaries and corrupt actors while he was Obama's vice president, and also very likely made some moves as president of the United States that lived up to some of the debts that he owed. It was too much for McCarthy to ignore if he wants to keep his job. And late this morning, the House Speaker jumped on TV and blew the Biden White House right out of the water.
Through our investigations, we have found that President Biden did lie to the American people about his own knowledge of his family's foreign business dealings. These are allegations of abuse of power, obstruction, and corruption, and they warrant further investigation by the House of Representatives. That's why today I am directing our House committee to open a formal impeachment inquiry into President Joe Biden. The American people deserve to know that the public offices are not for sale.
So here is what this means. A powerhouse investigation. Committee leaders James Comer, Jason Smith, Jim Jordan will now have more power to investigate and dig up further evidence. And at some point will present their findings, and the House will vote on impeachment. The reaction to this has been much as you'd expect. Most media outlets framing this as a radical right-wing tactic. McCarthy forced to do this by the MAGA crazies. The New York Times, McCarthy under threat from the right, orders Biden impeachment inquiry. Times trying to make you feel like there's nothing credible about this. The Associated Press doing the same. House Republicans are probing the business dealings of Hunter Biden, but so far have not produced hard evidence linking them and the president. Yes. That's what most media sounded like today. The new media with new rules. You can just say that certain facts don't exist if they hurt your political agenda. Welcome to journalism. We've seen an incredible alignment on this. Most media, aside from CBS, refusing to broadcast or print the massive scale of corruption evidence against the president. And although CBS deserves credit, most of their shows, we can tell you, have greatly marginalized Catherine Herridge's reporting. It doesn't transcend across all broadcasts the way every negative Trump story consistently does. The most dangerous evidence of Biden corruption comes from China. The Chinese communists paying the Biden family millions to encourage Joe Biden as vice president to support China's 2013 Belt and Road Initiative, which many saw as a very disturbing sign of China's agenda to radically expand, to start controlling more of the world. Yes, China paid Joe Biden and his family to support that. It's treasonous in nature. Hunter and others, including Tony Bobulinski, were working with CEFC China, which the New York Post reports was at the forefront of the Belt and Road Initiative. Tony Bobulinski says Joe Biden took time out of his busy schedule to meet with the Hunter China team. When he asked Joe's brother how they get away with this level of corruption, Jim Biden laughed and said, plausible deniability. The Democrat machine is praying enough people remain blissfully unaware of the towering evidence of just how horrifying Joe Biden and his family have behaved. As the walls are now closing in, you'd think Congressman Jamie Raskin would be a decent enough human being to at least call balls and strikes on Biden after what he did to former President Trump. No. He and Biden spokesperson Ian Sams releasing statements today, Raskin saying, establishing a false moral equivalency between Trump and President Biden, against whom there is precisely zero evidence of any wrongdoing whatsoever. That's a congressman. Sam saying they've turned up no evidence of wrongdoing, extreme politics at its worst. That's from the White House. Yes, this is how they sound in this moment. It is amazing. And here's some more from Democrats today.
Unfortunately, I think it is a serious threat from the extremes, but this is not what the American people want.
It's the Chaos Caucus. Just take a deep breath and try to get past this bunch of crazy MAGA extremist Republicans in the Chaos Caucus.
So embarrassing. Embarrassing as usual from Biden's sycophantic disciples. And while China is surely the most dangerous part of Biden's corrupt deals, Ukraine is the most obvious. Hunter making $1 million a year as an energy expert. And a trusted FBI source reporting the founder of the company paid Biden a $5 million bribe. $5 million going to Joe, $5 million going to Hunter, so $10 million in total, which was believed to secure the firing of Ukrainian prosecutor Viktor Shokin, something Biden and his White House claim was done for righteous reasons, because Shokin was such a bad apple and they really wanted to clean up Ukraine. But James Comer writing to Secretary of State Antony Blinken today, the committee seeks to understand the State Department's sudden change in disposition towards the Ukrainian Office of the Prosecutor General in late 2015. Comer pointing out the Obama-Biden State Department were applauding Viktor Shokin as a key part of their mission to weed out Ukrainian corruption. People like Victoria Nuland, you know that name, they were big fans of Viktor Shokin all the way through summer of 2015. And then suddenly in the fall of 2015, Vice President Biden called Ukraine's president and threatened to withhold $1 billion if that prosecutor wasn't fired. Just that one guy he needed gone. A whole crazy world out there, but that one guy Joe Biden really needed gone. When Devon Archer testified in front of Congress, Biden acolyte Dan Goldman ran out to the cameras. Remember, he ran out before anybody else to jump on in front of him and try to spin what was a horrific day of testimony for the Biden regime into somehow that Devon Archer's testimony actually exonerated Joe Biden. Here is what Goldman ran out to say.
The most interesting thing that he said is that Burisma believed that they had the Prosecutor General Shokin in their pocket. They had control over him, and they were concerned that if he was removed from office, that would be very bad for Burisma.
So that was a complete lie. And the idea that firing Shokin was righteous, the idea that Biden fired a corrupt prosecutor who was actually beneficial to his son's business, is not just ridiculous. It's an incredible look at how skeezy Washington really is. Here was a question to Hunter's business partner Devon Archer when he testified on Capitol Hill. Question was, are you aware that Vadim, who I can tell you is a Burisma guy, has told Blue Star that one of the pressures that he was facing was related to Shokin and the investigation into Burisma? So that question elicited a surprise answer from Devon Archer, that a narrative had been spun to him by people in D.C. that actually firing Shokin would be bad for Burisma. So to understand what really happened here, you need to understand that Blue Star is a D.C. lobbying and public relations firm. Why on earth is a Burisma executive, a corrupt Ukrainian person, talking to a D.C. spin doctor? Well, because Vice President Joe Biden was about to fire the prosecutor looking into a corrupt energy company while he and his son were being paid millions of dollars by that corrupt energy company. And to pull this off when you're the Vice President of the United States, the entire perception of reality needed to be changed. And so it appears Blue Star was brought in to convince people that firing Viktor Shokin was not a good thing for Burisma, because everybody knew that Hunter was working for Burisma. It was actually a bad thing if you fired Viktor Shokin. And Joe Biden is ultimately so righteous that he made a decision that hurt his son's company, because Joe Biden is so committed to cleaning up Ukraine, that he was willing to sacrifice his own son's business to get it done. Can you imagine believing that? That's what they're trying to pull off. Sebastian Gorka joins me now. Sir, it's good to have you back on the show. The impeachment process begins. I wanted to get your top line thoughts.
Well, first things first, can I just congratulate you and the graphics team who did that over the shoulder using the phrase, the walls are closing in. I think we've heard this now for 7 years about my former boss. But this time it's real because we've actually got the receipts. Of all the things you've mentioned, I don't know whether you agree with me. I think the literal smoking gun, it still blows my mind. I worked in the Defense Department before I joined the White House. The idea that I would even think of, let alone request and acquire, 3 pseudonymous email accounts on government servers under fake names whilst I'm working for the government, as Vice President Biden did. And then I'd be sending emails to Ukraine, and I'd be CCing my son, Hunter Biden, who's on the board of that company, Burisma, well known, the most corrupt oil company in Ukraine. Just that alone. Can we just have like an impeachment hearing on that? But seriously, I had Doug Collins, who you know is a good guy, fought the good fight against impeachment. Doug Collins said on my radio show last week, yes, we need to do impeachment, but we need to do it right. We need to be serious, not some kind of cavalcade farrago, a circus like Nancy did twice. No, we need to deliver the goods. We've been waiting 8 months. You could dam the Potomac, Rob, with the amount of evidence. Let's put it all out there. Drip, 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 just like Andrew Breitbart used to, until it is a cascaded tsunami that you cannot deny.
Well said. Well said. That's exactly what it is. And I mean, I don't even know why we have other media establishments in this country at this point, because of what they're ignoring is so, these people must feel such shame. Aside from their political partisan nature, whatever, the reporters that work at these places must feel such shame when they have to just ignore what really is probably the biggest story they've ever seen politically. If anyone out there believes that Chris Christie is really a Republican, I want to show you this from this morning, and then I want you to decide after the soundbite. Go ahead.
I don't see evidence yet that would support impeaching Joe Biden. And I think we're cheapening impeachment by doing that kind of thing.
What is he doing? Who is he?
This is the same guy who over the weekend, I mean, why is a quote unquote Republican going on the establishment, left-wing, lying legacy media? That's all he does now. And of course, Fox, which we know what they are. And he said at the weekend, I kid you not, if you don't believe Dr. G, look it up. I played the clip on my radio show. He said, and if Donald Trump doesn't debate, I'm going to get his flight path and his bus route, and I'm going to follow him across the country. That's like the crazy ex-girlfriend. That's like the helter-skelter ex who's like stalking you. Dude, who's living in whose brain rent-free? We know the answer to that question. But to the serious point here, this is a former prosecutor. A former prosecutor says there's not evidence. How about this one piece of evidence? Just one, Christy.
Yeah.
The vice president flies to Beijing on Air Force Two. He takes his son, Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden comes back from Beijing after telling the Secret Service not to come to his meetings in China, not to come to his meetings. And he lands a $1.3 billion deal with the National Bank of Communist China, a deal that if you ask, the guys who work on Wall Street, Goldman Sachs couldn't get, Bank of America couldn't get.
And just the idea, and let me, sorry to cut in, but just the idea that Biden is so pious that he, even though it was bad for Burisma and it was bad for Hunter to fire Victor Shokin, is what they're trying to convince us of now. But Biden is so holistic, he's so righteous that he just knew that this prosecutor had to be fired because he wasn't quite up to snuff. It's hilarious. I mean, Joe Biden couldn't care less about Ukraine or whatever the agenda was. It mattered. Everybody can see what this really is. The fact they're trying to spin it that way is priceless.
We have the text. We have the text messages from Hunter Biden to his daughter saying, well, if you had to give 50% of your income to daddy, you'd know how I feel. Excuse me, what? Oh, now I get it. Now I get it. 50% of your income, Hunter. We get it.
We get it. Sebastian Gorka, always a good conversation. Thank you, sir.
God bless. Thank you, Rob.